cycle is proudly supported by My Balanced Life, helping you find inner balance through individual, corporate, and community wellness programs. My Balanced Life offers wellness sessions across many disciplines, including Chinese medicine, which was discussed in this month's book, Seeing Red. Fully licensed and registered practitioners are available for one-on-one in-person treatments and virtual coaching sessions. As a valued Book Interrupted listener, you can book a free 15-minute consultation at www.mybalancedlife.ca/bookinterrupted. That's www.mybalancedlife.ca/bookinterrupted to learn more and book your free consultation. You can find the link in the show notes below.
Welcome to our fan episode. This is where we talk about what fans said about what we said and the book. Okay, great.
And which book is that?
Different? Oh, about Seeing Red by Kirsten Karchmer, my book choice.
I'll start with one fan that I thought they shared their first period story, and I really liked it. Just because it's just, nobody talks about it with their children, and then they get it, and then they're like freaked out. So this is what they wrote. When I got my period, I was 11 years old in an outside toilet at my grandmother's. I went to the bathroom and blood, and I nearly passed out. I had no idea what the hell was was wrong with me. And I ran to my grandmother's with my underwear around my ankles in hysterics, shouting, I'm bleeding like mad. Oh boy. I was washed up and pads and pins provided for me. I thought I had the plague. Then the education came. It's true, I was told this was perfectly normal for a woman, but now it's time that you can never, never, never mess around with boys, because then you could get pregnant. And then she went on to say that she had to find out what the birds and bees were from someone at school. Like, she didn't know how she could get pregnant, but now she could.
Yeah, what kind of messing around are we talking about here?
What? He was 11.
Also, she said she had pads and pins. Does that mean she's much, much older? Because
older.
This was my mom. She said it was okay that I identify her. She just, for some reason, needs to be incognito on Facebook. But in the podcast, it's okay that anyways.
Good.
So I asked her about that. So their maxi pads used to be like a garter belt. Like, they had this belt around their waist, and then they like pinned the pad to the belt. Like, this was almost like reinforcements instead of just something like sitting in your underpants. But I guess like, cause I'm of the generation of always with wings. So like, that was holding on to your underwear, right? I guess they didn't, I may have been a rolled up piece of material. Like, I'm not sure what it was, but you needed to have like this contraption to secure your protection. The other thing too, was she said she was really naive. And so, when she was like, oh, I'm bleeding, they're like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. Like, but anyways, now you can't mess around with boys. And my mom was like, oh, okay. And they're like, you know what we mean? And she was like, yeah. And they were like, you know what we mean? And she was like, yeah. But to me, she was like, I didn't know what they meant. She's like, I was really naive. I had no idea. I was like, what's wrong with boys now? So she didn't know. And then I guess that's how your friend kind of filled her in on the birds and the bees portion of it. But like, it was like you guys were saying, really reflective of the fact that intergenerationally, right? So those women had probably been conditioned. We don't talk about this. So the best we could do is be like, you know what we mean? Like, and like do that serious code passing, which as a young woman, you're like, not really, but it sounds like I should. So
it's like, I'm 11, I knew everything.
Right. And yeah, so those women, while they knew what they meant, because they had probably found out in a similar, probably a little bit, I don't want to go as far as say it's traumatic. I don't know other people's experiences, but like probably not the best way when no one gives you any information. And it's probably like the guy that's like, this is how you, like, whatever, who knows? But the point is that they passed that on, that lack of knowledge, because no one ever gave it to them. So not only did they not have it when they were supposed to first get it, they couldn't give it when it was time to pass it down because no one had even shown them how to do that.
I think a lot of people have had that first period experience. Like, if you talk to people like, am I dying?
Because you're bleeding and you're bleeding out of a an area that you probably have the least amount of information if we're like looking backwards with women's health
Private
and how it's
area.
kind of taboo.
We don't talk about private
Right.
areas.
So it's a
Private.
mystery already.
Yeah.
And then to have blood be coming out of it, like you're like, uh-oh, this is probably the end. This is how I go out.
Yeah.
I knew there was a problem with
Underwear
this
around my
mysterious
ankles.
piece.
Yeah.
Book interrupted.
I've got a super fantastic interruption. I just received a very important email but moments ago from one of the schools that I applied to for a master's program, and I just got accepted. Yeah. I'm so excited.
Book interrupted.
I've always found everybody I've like had like every boy that I've at least lived with has been real curious. Like, it's just, have you guys experienced this as well? They like want to know all about it.
You're
I
very
think this is like
approachable,
indicative of the
though,
type.
right? Like, you make things so easy to talk about. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of like make light of things and make people feel comfortable about uncomfortable things. So I can see them being like, "Oh, now I can ask her about it." 'Cause I haven't
Like,
been able to
I've
ask any
always
other
known.
woman.
Well, I'm also maybe a bit
Right?
like of a naked person, so maybe that's part of the problem. But part of the problem or part of the solution.
It's part of the
Yeah.
solution. Otherwise,
You're a
it's
walking
people need to get
educational
naked. More
message.
naked people.
Because I don't like close the door as much as I should in the bathroom. Maybe for most, probably I do with company. But
So gracious of you.
oh, yeah, but so like if I'm in the middle of, if I gotta change some shit, it's always like, same with makeup. I've noticed a lot of men in my life like want to watch me put makeup on. Like, what are you doing that? Why do you put that there? What's that thing called? Like, it's
Why are there
eyeliner.
so many things?
Yeah, like there's a real curiosity I've always found, but maybe I have a type.
Yeah, I'm
That's
wondering
what I'm thinking,
if
'cause
it is. Yeah.
All
And
of my people are like,
transitioning
no,
men.
don't tell me.
Men-
and
men-
I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, because my only experience, like with like people, like men that I've like lived with, like boyfriends, partners, like that, their their understanding is it's still okay to have sex while you're on your period. Like that is the
That's it.
extent of it, and it's not the. So how does the tampon work? How often do you change it? Or
Well,
why-
I'm not saying
why
I
the
don't think I've
liquid
ever
liner?
had like that depth of Q&A, but just like, how does that tampon thing work? Like, what do you mean? You push the stick and then it pushes it, that launches it out like that? Like, they haven't been quite as thoughtfully worded maybe as you think, Kara. Just like the technical aspect of how it is kind of an apparatus, that whole thing. God,
I use the ones without the applicators.
Yeah,
to
same.
save.
I
So-
don't
You know that
I'm
they
so
make
over
reusable?
tampons.
They make reusable ones now, like applicators.
No
They
way.
make reusable tampons too, but I don't think there's enough data to say if they're safe or not. But you can get a reusable applicator that you just wash.
Try
People
the
are-
cup, y'all. The undies
is good.
Invest
The
in
cup's
the
good.
undies and the cup. It's
Yeah,
such
the
a
undies
good
are so
invention.
great. I'm gonna buy more.
Yeah, so let's talk about the undies because
Good
you guys
segue.
have told us, but you haven't told the audience how
Yeah.
you how,
Share,
about the
share,
undies.
share.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, you and Mary.
yeah. So the NYX underwear is the brand I went with. Mare, what was the name of your brand?
Dear Kate.
Dear Kate. And my experience with the NYX underwear is like, I don't want to sound like I want you to be our sponsor, NYX underwear, but this isn't a commercial, but they are primo. Like, literally did a period where I didn't use a cup, I didn't use a tampon, I used no other products but the underwear, and they're like some kind of magic underwear. I just washed them. I brought a change for halfway through the day on my heavy day. Just changed my underwear halfway through the day, threw them in a plastic bag, washed them when I went home. I slept in their sleeping short, they called it. And I don't even know how that worked. Because honestly, I was buying Depends underwear for the first night of my period once a month and wearing a diaper to bed, which is sweaty and messy. And so they're like literally like seamless underwear. Like almost the material, like what is that stuff? You know, when you don't want to have any lines, like underwear lines.
Yeah,
Like
the
that material.
seamless
Like Spanx?
underwear. I love those.
Spandex?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
So
a
were they
smooth,
like when you did a night overnight and like at any
Mhm.
given time, did you feel wet?
No. And it's crazy because it's not like it's that thick through the crotch section. It's like super. It's like
thin.
at best an eighth of an inch through the
What?
crotch
Yeah, like a
section,
few
and it just
layers.
sucked it all up.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting because I'm being like, am I going to feel wet? And when do I know that it's full? I think maybe if you
Yeah.
start feeling wet, then you know it's full. But it's just more like on a time thing. It's so weird. The Dear Kate, the ones that I tried, they don't have a waterproof layer, which is why I wanted to try them because I thought they wouldn't be as like they'd be really good maybe in the summer, like where it doesn't like hold in the moisture. But I am going to try some other brands because like I just want it more. I have 3 pairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
wanna
want
know
in
what-
on this.
What's the waterproof layer supposed to do? I don't understand that
Yeah.
for a function.
Yeah, I
Like
don't get that.
most brands have a waterproof layer. I think NYX does as well. And it's just like the last kind of layer before like the pretty layer, I guess, on the outside, just so that I'm not an expert, but this is what I imagine, so that if it's if you're kind of getting full, then it's not going to go through onto like your pants or whatever.
Oh.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that would make
Yeah.
sense.
And why did you
Right.
choose no waterproof layer?
Because I wanted to try them, and I was wondering if the waterproof
More
layer would make it
breathable.
feel more sweaty. So I wanted something that was breathable and to try that out. And they were great. I want to get another brand maybe for like the first day because my first day was heavier than it usually is, which was unusual for me, but whatever. And yeah, so I want to try. So I thought it was going to leak. It did leak through a little bit, but I think it's because I wasn't prepared for it to be as heavy as it was. I like went out. It was like, I'll just put these on. First time ever, and I'm going to go on a hike.
In my white
Just
shorts.
like this.
Yeah, so I was in the forest. I was
In
like,
my white jeans. Yeah.
yeah, totally. It didn't leak through a lot, but it was just like, well, maybe I need one with a bit of a waterproof layer for the first day. But yeah, it was brilliant because it was just like, it just, like I never really liked pads because I didn't like the feel it. Like they just seem messy.
And it does that
Same.
crunch noise when you walk, and I'm like, does everyone know that I'm wearing a maxi pad?
But like even being able to feel it, and it seems like it's
Sometimes
messy
it wedges in
when you
your
go to the bathroom.
butt.
But this was just
Yeah.
like it wicks away the moisture. You don't feel wet, and you just feel so normal. Like I know periods are normal, but it just like the reason I kind of like the cup is I don't notice it's there. So
Yeah, it doesn't feel
sometimes I forget
messy.
that I'm on my period. But it was the same thing.
Yeah,
with
the
the
cup
underwear.
is so good too.
It was the same thing with the underwear that I kind
Can
of
I
forgot I was
ask
on my
you
period.
guys about the cup when it comes to being in a public washroom? Like what
I
do you...
wouldn't do that in a public.
So
Okay,
it's-
that's
yeah,
what I was
that's the
curious. So
only
you
challenge.
do need to
That's
plan
rude.
in advance.
An
It
empty
depends on your
cup
flow.
before I go out, and
Yeah.
then you can make it through whatever public washroom gauntlet, and then come back home and take care of
Okay,
business.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if your hands
I've
are clean,
also-
if your
yeah.
hands are clean and you have to change it in a public washroom or whatever, just don't rinse it in between. Just
Yeah.
empty it.
I've
If
done
your
that.
hands
Yeah,
are
because I was like, I
emptied
can't
it
rinse it in a
and
sink
put
that
it
other
back
people
in.
use.
Yeah, that would be rude.
Okay, that would be so
That's
wrong.
That's in poor
Okay.
taste.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
just if your hands are clean, empty it, put it
Yeah,
back
put
in.
it back
if you have to,
in.
but I've never found like I change it if I'm wearing a cup twice a day, morning and before bed. When I wake up, when I go to bed.
Okay.
I change mine
And-
more often because I'm still like traumatized from my actual period and tampons, which were like blowing leaks every fucking 20 minutes.
And we're inserted like perpendicularly.
Sideways. That's why they didn't
You poor thing. You must have been like,
So you guys inspired me to buy the period underwear because you both
yeah.
said such good things. So
okay.
I bought them. I haven't used them, but I bought like because there's different. So there's some that are thongs, and I like to wear thong underwear. So they actually have like super flow and less flow thongs, which I'm excited.
No.
That's exciting. I haven't tried the thong.
Yeah, so I got those, and then my friend of mine, I'm talking about it, and I know about it. Then I'm noticing so many other people that are using these period
that's
underwear.
amazing.
I always thought it was just for like preteens, and if you were really light flow, I didn't realize, it would
Some
work
of them
for
carry up to
heavy
like
flow.
8 teaspoons or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
a lot.
I can't wait to get some.
And I
Yeah.
think also, wouldn't it be a great thing to send your kid to in their like period pack to school before they get their period? Because if they get their period at school, they might be like, I don't know how to use this pad. I don't know how to use this tampon. I'm going to wait till they get home and ask my mom, but I can put on this underwear. I know how to use underwear.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that for Minty. I think that'd be really good.
Yeah.
And also, like, I was nervous. Like, I didn't use tampons forever. I was like one of those girls, like how Kirsten Karchmer was saying, like, nervous about, like, doing that stuff. Like, I just had the pad. I remember I used to wear, my mom, her tip was just put 2 pairs of underwear on. So that's what I did. I put a regular pair, like full brief pair, and then one that was like high cut to hold it in place. That's what she told me. That's what I used to do when I was younger. And after I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why do I wear 2 pairs of underwear?
Don't you think that has something to do with the old garter belt style, where she's like, well, you need one to hold it in?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sure it had to do with the pins and stuff. 2 pairs of underwear. I'm like, okay.
You're very thin, though. I could see it, like, having trouble, like, I don't know.
Yeah, keeping it in place.
I don't know.
And I think mom got us those really big ones because mom, you know. So anyway, there were giant pads, and I had these 2 pairs of
I
underwear
have no doubt. Oh my gosh, remember those giant pads that you have to wear after you have a baby? I remember when I first saw them, I was like, surely there must be a mistake. Why would they need to be this large? And then I was like, actually, they need to be much thicker and much larger. I was like, this is ridiculous.
A friend of mine was like, just buy Depends for the first bit.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't know why people
Well, I
don't
already
do
had
that
Depends in the house. Clearly, I've been on the fast track to Depends, to adult diapers.
You're like, no problem.
Yeah. Check.
Do you want? There's another. So Kara put a period post up.
Facebook post that I did that had all the tampons and pads. I'm just trying to find it here. My neighbor weighed in. He has 3 daughters. Robert said, I have 3 daughters. I grew up hearing absolute horror stories about both my mom's generation and my grandmother's generation dealing with their first menses, hiding it, being ashamed, and largely ignorant of how their own bodies worked and why. Ignorant meaning uneducated. I made certain that each of my girls learned anything and everything they needed to know about reproduction and menstruation as soon as they were old enough to ask the questions. We used age-appropriate and accurate terminology for all body parts and processes. And he says there's nothing funnier than a 3-year-old asking if you have a vagina or a penis. Each of them went to school at around the age of 9 with care packages containing pads, changes of clothes. We taught them what to expect, what to do, and how not to panic.
That's so nice. That's such a
right?
yeah, and having especially a father saying all that. I just think it's so wonderful.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. From his
Yeah.
dad. Isn't that great?
And thank you, Robert, for speaking up and commenting. I love that.
Do you think if you yell it, he can hear you?
Yell loud enough.
Because he is my neighbor. Yeah.
He actually is
and my
on
window
the
is
other
open.
side of the computer.
He like shows up. His head like comes up and he's like, "You're welcome."
Oh my god, he comes up from underneath your desk, like sexy style, like.
Oh my gosh, that's gone too far.
That's not how I was
just checking to make sure she had a tampon and a period spot check.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Unintended. You're on a fucking roll, man. That was just so awesome. I almost want to like restart the whole podcast just so we could set that up.
I know.
And he's like, on second thought, I don't want to be on your podcast.
I know. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
On Book Interrupted.